Slow mode is on. Send a message every 1 second. Whatever the hell that means. Live chat, yada yada yada. Okay. I need one more light. I know, Zoe. Now, where? Well, I guess we're rolling with that one. I was hoping that I had another light somewhere that I could park right there, but I don't. So I guess we're just gonna roll with that. Sorry, fellas. Who all we got here? Symphonichrome. Charles 75N, My Knees Hurt. Ian's Guitar Shack. Brandon Aldridge. What's up, everybody? Let's see. When I first turned on the, when I first hit the go live button, and realized I might need some more light, and there wasn't anybody in here yet when I got up and go look for the particular little light apparatus that I'm looking for. Is it over here somewhere? I don't know where in the hell I put it. I had another little light that I can mount right there on my the top of my monitor, but it seems to have evaded me. So that's all right. We'll just roll with this. Let's see. Symphonichrome says, "Hey Robert, hope all is well. Have you had a chance to check out the Rick Tunes replacement tremolo for Strats? It looks like a great product, but I've yet to try it." No, I'm actually not familiar with it. This is the first that I've heard of it. Thank you for asking all as well. Unfortunately, I've got 6 days left before I'm officially laid off, and I'm going to be out of a job again. So, but I don't know. I've got a few irons in the fire. Talking to a few companies. I can't reveal who any of them are, obviously, especially because if it doesn't happen, that would be really, really stupid of me. But with any luck, I should hopefully be able to stay in the MI industry. So, but enough about that. Let's see. Tunes Tremolo Strat. Tunes Strat Tremolo. Let's see what this thing's all about. I'm not familiar with it. Tunes. Ricktune tremolo. Ricktune, ricktune.com. Dive bomb like a Floyd Rose, but stay in tune like a... Sure looks interesting. It's like a... kind of looks like an elongated modern trem on like, you know, what you might see on one of the Ultra Strats or something. Interesting. I'm assuming that's the one that looks like he's got several models actually, but no, learn something new every day. No, this is the first time I've ever heard of this company. These look pretty cool. These look pretty cool. Let's have purchasing info. Maybe it's 7-string white pearl skilly. Okay, that's good. He looks like he also sells guitars. And everything. Okay, not a whole lot of. Maybe it's the guitars that I'm looking that they're showcasing on this website. I don't know. The guitars look cool, but Ricktune 67 tremolo. Let's see what this is about. That's it. That's the one I was looking at. Okay. Here, I'll tell you what. I'm being rude. Let me show you guys what it is that I'm looking at. And then we can see together. So this is I'm assuming that's the Strat style tremolo that you're asking about, which is admittedly pretty cool looking. Purchase. What's this? Okay. This guy also apparently does custom built guitars and stuff, which is what all this is about. I just want to know how much the tremolo sells for. No pricing. So it looks like it's ricktune67.com as opposed to just ricktune.com, which is all the guitars. All right, cool. And we're back. Interesting. Oh, dude, some Phonochrome in the super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Let's see. Ian's Guitar Shack says dead live streams are awesome. My bad, dude. Like I said, I was getting up trying to find another little lighting apparatus to try and brighten up this part of me a little bit better, because you might see I added some colored stuff, some colored lights and shit over there on that side of the room, which you'll see better in some other videos as they come out. But for now, I've still got some other lighting work that I want to do here in this room, but the goal is to improve the lighting of most of my videos. So, and there's a light that I have around here someplace, and I don't remember what in the hell I did with. But for now, we're rolling with it. My knees hurt says, how loud can I play my 212 guitar cab with my bass before blowing the speakers? I want to loop it and play my drums. Without knowing the specs of your 212 cab, it's hard to say, but, realistically, you're going to want to check the specs on your cab, because, playing bass into guitar amps can oftentimes damage the speakers. Because those speakers are oftentimes not designed to handle those ultra low frequencies. And obviously going into it, make sure that you're following the same rules of resistance and and wattage and all that stuff. Don't overpower them. Don't put the wrong resistance into them. So match the resistance, the ohms accordingly, and don't put any more power into them. Those speakers are ready to handle. But also check the manufacturer specifications on the low end frequencies to see if they can handle bass. Because usually, when I was at the store, we always advised against that. For that reason. So guitar speakers are guitar speakers are rated are like frequencied, for lack of a better term, much higher than everything else. Bass speakers, keyboard amps, drum amps, PA speakers, all those stuff all that stuff is generally pretty flat. So guitar speakers and guitar amps are actually the oddball of the whole live sound family, if you will. So that's the most accurate answer I can give you there. Let's see. Blocket of Lighter is here. David Brockett is here. Let's see what we got. Never seen a tremolo like that before. I haven't either. It's interesting. I'd be all the prices I saw on all the guitars and shit on that dude's web page were way not cheap. So I'm going to assume that those trims aren't, the tremolos that he's making are going to be right in line. But who knows? Could be wrong. Maybe they're $200-300 or something, which would be pretty reasonable, I think. Man, this is that. If you're coffee drinkers out there, this is that Death Wish coffee, which is Zach Wilde's coffee company, and the shit is powerful. This stuff will put some hair on your chest. I don't need more hair on my chest, but I'm putting it on there anyway. Seen a live stream of a dude passed out drunk before. I bet that was a lot of fun to watch. Wonder who. Hey, my glucose sensor's ready. Awesome. I'll bet that, if it was a big enough channel, I'll bet that dude still had people, throw money in a super chat at him and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Maybe not. 212 Celestian green and creambacks, brand new. So depending on which version of the greenback, and the creambacks I think are 65 or 70 watts. Greenbacks usually are, again, depending on which version of the greenback, usually about 25 or 30 watts. So roughly we call it 100 watts. 90 or 100 watts. I don't know how many watts the bass amp is that you're using, but again, I would strongly recommend you check on the manufacturer's specifications regarding frequencies. Make sure it can handle it. David Rocket says, I would like to get your thoughts on Vox new tube technology. It's the. I mean, I've seen it more in the, more like the tube screamer pedals. Ibanez has a tube screamer version that's a new tube. That's if you're not familiar with it, basically it's supposed to be like a vacuum tube alternative, essentially kind of an electron-based vacuum tube alternative. It's kind of cool. I don't think it sounds quite like real tubes. It gets close, but I don't think it's identical. It's one of those things that's I mean it's not fair to call it a gimmick because it is pretty cool technology, and eventually, one of these days, hopefully it doesn't happen in my lifetime, but these vacuum tubes are going to go the way of the dinosaur eventually. And they're going to continue to get harder and harder to replace and harder to find. So I mean the new tube stuff is likely to be a solid alternative to those down the line, especially as that technology improves, but. But for me, my money, I'm sticking with real tubes for now. My niece Hurt says suggestions for a low-ish cost bass amp and cab. Um, Low cost. I depending. Depending on what your idea of low cost is. Ampeg's got some options. The Fender Rumble stuff is actually pretty solid for the price. Fender's been making that series for, who knows how many, decades now. The Rumble's been around for a long time. And they're really, really good. I've sold a ton of those things over the years. And some, again, depending on what your idea of inexpensive is, some of the mark-based stuff might get the job done for you. And and it sounds really, really good if you like the mark-based sound. And believe it or not, you go to Guitar Center's proprietary acoustic brand is actually really good. I've had this. This is the B200. This is the first generation B2. I'm sorry, that's a B450 combo. I've had that thing for 10 or 12 years now, and it's been great. You get a lot of solid bang for the buck, and they seem to be built well and they sound good. So, with a lot of features on it. Yeah, for me though, I'd probably start with Ampeg. Go from there. Gallien-Krueger's good. I really like Gallien-Krueger bass amps as well. So again, even their lower end stuff is going to depend on your idea of affordable. Let's see. My knees hurt. The bass amp and cab that can keep up with drums in a small room. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Bass wattage, wattage in bass amps is a little bit different than wattage in guitar amps. It seems like a lot more of those use digital power. So so sometimes you might need a bass amp that's got 200 watts. 100, 200 watts. It might seem like a lot, but it's not as much as you might think. But that's wattage is also very, very very, very subjective from one amp to the next. Pardon me. Let's see. Archer's here. Corey42 is here. James Frank is here. Says, hi, Robert. I love your channel. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Dwight Bailey has joined the soiree. Don Evans says, can you please share your thoughts on custom amplifiers, specifically the old tuck and roll amps? I'm a huge CCR fan, typically get defensive. Thanks in advance. Oh, if you're new to this channel, you would probably know that I'm not a fan of the old custom tuck and roll amps. I think they're total dog shit, and the people that really, really seem to love them are old school CCR and John Fogerty fans, because that's what he was known to use. In some instances, though, he actually recorded a lot, in the studio. He recorded, I think, as much or more with Fenders and Marshalls back in the 60s and 70s. That's funny. I'm a huge CCR fan, typically get defensive. Way of the dinosaurs, so we'll be pumping old tube amps into our cars. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know about all that, but I suppose so, sure. Specifically, if you're an old classic car collector, there's probably a tube or two in there somewhere. James Frank says, say I have a Zoom G11. Like to get your thoughts on them if it's okay. I think it's okay. I think you just answered your own question there. If you think it's okay, that's I think that's all that's important. Seriously, if you think it's okay, who cares? Who cares what I think? what I can tell you about it, I think that's Zoom's latest and greatest, or one of their latest and greatest effects processors. I'm not a processor guy. So I do recently here have a desire. I do want to try the GT1000 Core for studio purposes, just to see what I'm missing. And just because I'm a diehard Boss fan, but but I mean, I'm never gonna go play a gig with an effects processor. It ain't happening. It's just not my thing. I don't like all the programming and the banks and the menus and all. And it's I just want to plug my shit in and go. Even my pedal board has shrunk down significantly in the last few years. So. Archer says, "Goddamn spell check. I'm deaf, not dead." My niece here says, "I'm more interested in volume than tone." I don't know what tone is. Well, in that case, go get the highest wattage amp you can afford. If you don't care what it sounds like. Used Guitar Shack says, "I bought a used GK 112 or 115 at Guitar Center, loud enough for me." I love I love Gallagher-Kruger, for bass. If I were gonna buy a bass amp right now, it would most likely be a GK, probably like a 700 or 1001 RB, one of the, something like that. Fun fact. For most of my full track demos that you guys hear me, like when I do a pedal demo or something in one of my videos, the full track portion of those videos, 99.999% of the time I use a virtual Gallagher-Kruger plugin. It's the Gallagher-Kruger amp, bass amp in Amplitude 5, and I just love the sound of those things. I think they sound great, particularly for rock music. Damn it, Robert, answer my G11 question. I did! Archer says, "Looking at a Blackstar HT5R, anything I should watch out for or just avoid altogether just for living room playing?" Yeah, again, I mean, if you like the sound of it, buy it, dude. There's nothing wrong with those amps. I mean, I'm not real. I'm certainly not Blackstar. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Blackstar amps. I've pissed them off before on my channel too. When I was, I decided to shit all over the IR, the cores or whatever the hell those things are. Because I really don't like those, but there's a lot of people that do like Blackstars, and a lot of them most of them actually are pretty affordable. So, they're for me, they're pretty okay sounding, to be honest. Not my favorite, but they're not horrible by any means. The HT5Rs, I actually, the original HT5, which is the first generation of that amp that didn't have the reverb on it, that was the first Blackstar amp I ever played, and I remember actually really liking that one. That was like not long after Blackstar just came out, after they started. Mount Salmonella. I'm gonna call you Mount Salmonella 80. Says they look cool but have no good tone by themselves, but you can run a good modeler into them. My niece hurts says my Guitar Center doesn't have many options, mark-based stuff and smaller practice amps. But it doesn't. Guitar Center is the only mark-based dealer in North America, so that doesn't surprise me they have mark-based stuff. That said, if you are, give it some time, but if you're one of the people who complains about the their Guitar Center's in-store selections, my advice is to be patient, because I got word here a few weeks ago, the Guitar Center several years back, 8 or 9 years ago or something like that, they hired a guy, who was, they hired a guy as their new vice president of retail, and he had some good ideas, but essentially what it played out to be was to to start running all the stores like grocery stores, and that's why, really it's probably his fault why the stores have gotten the reputations that they have. Anyway, he is no longer with the firm. He was, they parted ways here just very recently. And that, along with their new CEO that they have in place, that's gonna be a big focus, is to turn that around. So, in short, give it some time for all that stuff to fall into place. But I think we might start seeing some changes for the positive at the Guitar Center retail locations. So. James Frank says, dude, I actually have a custom 100 watt head, and wow, that thing can't suck enough. Don Evans says, blocker script. I'm not sure what it is that you're referring to. I don't know if maybe you're talking to somebody else. I don't know if it's 65 or 5150 or phase 90 or shit. I don't know. Herschel Schachter says, I killed a little 15 watt practice amp today. PCB traces lifted from replacing the little solid state chip. Double-sided PCBs shouldn't be legal. I am not technically sound enough to be able to respond to that, to be honest with you. My knowledge, if an amp dies, my knowledge about what is wrong with it is take it down to Uncle Albert's and let Kevin work his magic on it. Mount Seminole 80 says, I run crazy effects in stereo nonetheless, but one HX Stomp does it all for me. The HX Stomp is a pretty good unit. I think I still prefer the Boss GT1000 Core a little bit better. I think it has more options on it, and it's a little bit better. It's got more options, more features, a little bit better design. In other words, I think they packed more features into the same size package for about the same price. Let's see. R&R Steve says, the book Fretboard Freedom, heard of it. Any good? I have not. Unfortunately, I will have a look-see. Candy Niner says, hey Robert, do you see a big difference in the original RG550 and the Genesis RG550? Thanks, buddy. Not really. To be honest, I mean, if you ignore the made-in stamps, the original was of course made in Japan, I believe. The current ones, the Genesis version, I think is made in Indonesia. So if you ignore that, blindfolded, I'm not sure you'd be able to tell much of a difference. Hats off to Ibanez, because Ibanez is putting out some really, really good products right now. They're building some really nice guitars, really good quality guitars across all price points. I did that demo video a couple of months ago on the let's see, I'll make sure I don't the model numbers. That's what the one thing I hate about Ibanez is their model numbers never make any sense. The RGR or the RGT RGR 421 whatever the hell it was. It's the most recent Ibanez guitar video on my channel. Go find it. Anyway, it's a under $500 Super Strat with a neck through legitimate neck through design. And it's a great guitar. Import DiMarzio pickups in it that sound just fine. There's a few things that I could see upgrading on it that might make sense, but generally speaking, overall, I mean, for $500, for under $500, it's fucking kick ass. So yeah, You know, the 550, the RG 550 Genesis version. Great, you know, great. I've thought about buying one of those myself a number of times. You know, the reason I haven't is because I don't, you know, why do I need it? You know, I have there's nothing about the RG 550 that, you know, that would do anything that I don't have other guitars that also do. So, pardon me. R&R Steve says, I like my Blackstar Fly amp with extension cab. Those Fly amps are pretty popular too, man. They're good little travel amps. A lot of people like those for that. James Frank says, what would you suggest for a really inexpensive high gain head? I'm poor as hell. In fact, I'm so poor I can't afford the last two letters. I'm just po. So what would you suggest? Boy. Inexpensive high gain head. You know, again, depending on inexpensive and depending on, you know, your idea of high gain and a number of things. I mean, the first amp that comes to my mind, you know, is go find a used Blue Voodoo. You know, use crate Blue Voodoo on the, you know, find a crate Blue Voodoo on the used market. Because you can find those for about $300 all over the place. You know, see, so the crate Blue Voodoo, the B52, AT100, the ATX 100, which is the later version of it. Boy, let's see. You know, that's, you know, the first one of those, the AT100 in particular, is kind of like a poor man's dual rectifier. I played one of those for years. It was a great amp. Let's see. Boy, I don't know what else. I'm looking at my own rack to see what I've got stashed over here. You know, I love my PV Windsor. You know, Randall Diavlos, you aren't really fighting to find those cheap anymore. Those, you know, thanks to all that shit that company's gone through. Boy, let's see what else. Carvin MTS, MTS 1000 or whatever that one is, 3000 MTS something or other. Shit, now I can't remember what that model number is. Carvin MTS 3200, that's what it is. You pick those up pretty cheap. Yeah, you know, you'd be surprised what's out there. I mean, there's a lot of like under the radar, you know, high gain amps that are, you know, still really, really good. You know, and those are just, you know, like full size 50, 100 watt, 120 watt tube heads that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. You know, there's certainly other stuff out there, you know, lower wattage and solid state, and, you know, I mean, there's options. There's plenty of options. Don Evans says, Phase 90, referred to his comment earlier. We asked me, you know, block or script. My answer to that question is Phase 95 that has both circuits in it. You know, that said, I don't know. I mean, I used a block. I used just a regular old Phase 90 block logo. You know, production model block logo Phase 90 for years, and it was great. You know, I still have that pedal. I mean, that's like one of the few pedals that I used enough that I actually wore it out. Now it makes some weird ass noise, and I don't use it much anymore anyway, because again, now I use the Phase 95. But I don't know. Either or, you know, I'm not picky about either one of them. I you know, the MXR Phase sound I think is great. Phase 90 sound, whichever version. David Brockett says, do you think technology has secretly reached its end? Pedals, for instance, the market is so flooded. Does this new pedal sound like that old one we just forgot about? Yeah, to a degree. You know, it is definitely getting harder and harder for pedal companies to come out with something new. You know, because they're not really going to come out with a new sound of any kind. You know, all the tones and pedals and all that stuff has realistically, it's all been done somewhere before. There's nothing wrong with doing it again. That's how pedal companies do manage to keep going, because you can't copyright a circuit. Certainly there's nothing wrong with doing it again, but, I think now the question that they're asking themselves, when they're coming up with new designs, is how do we take this same sound, tweak it just a little bit if we can, but more importantly, what features can we add that would make it unique, and draw people to our version of this pedal versus somebody else's. We all know there's how many freaking tube screamer circuits have we seen out of the market? Hundreds, if not thousands at this point, right? But you run across a company like this one. This is the high wind amplification Dire Wind. The Dire Wolf overdrive. I love this overdrive pedal. It's just a tube screamer circuit, but I mean, just look at it. All the knobs and switches and all that kind of stuff. And those aren't just just fun things to to turn and flip around and play with. I mean, those they actually do stuff to just to sculpt the sound that you're trying to get. I mean, this thing is way, way, way more versatile than, I don't know where my tube screamer is, but we all know what a tube screamer looks like. This is way, way, way more versatile than your typical 3-knob or even a 4-knob tube screamer. So, I think, has technology, is anybody going to be coming out with any new sounds, regarding pedals? Probably not. But they do seem to be doing a pretty good job of coming out with new features, and the bigger named boutique companies in particular, the Wamplers, the Keeleys, and some of the newer ones, Earthquaker Devices, Walrus Audio, Matthew Effects, some of those companies are all coming out with some pretty cool stuff all over the place, Not necessarily anything we haven't heard before, but same sound, but with features that we haven't seen before together. Let's see. Herschel Schachter says they'll invent a self-playing guitar like auto-tune for vocals. I would love a self-playing guitar that sang, because I'm looking for a lead singer right now. By the way, if you're in the Indianapolis area or know anybody in the Indianapolis area that would be a good rock singer in a band, please let me know, because that's what I'm trying to put together right now. And I have 4 out of the 5 pieces in place that I need. The one piece that I don't have in place is the singer. Ian's Guitar Shack says, watched any NAMM videos yet? I have not, because YouTube's going to get flooded with it's already being flooded with NAMM videos, I'm sure, but I get burnt out on NAMM videos so fast every year. I put up, I see a couple of things about some new gear that's been announced that I find interesting, and I'll put up a short video of my thoughts on it like I did the other day. But I'm not sitting down in my living room watching NAMM videos on my TV all afternoon either. So I don't know, but I need to check out some stuff. I guess there are some companies that are supposed to be releasing some new stuff. I just saw this morning that Diesel released a new some new VH amp of some kind. So I'm assuming it's like their Van Halen Brown sound type of amp. So I love Diesel amps, so that could be pretty cool. Can't afford any of them, but I do love Diesel amps. Savinity's here. Block of Delighter says you could sell that Xiphos to me and treat yourself on that RG550D. No, for a couple reasons. One, nobody's getting that Xiphos but me, and two, You might have noticed that caption down there at the bottom of the screen. I'm not going to be buying any guitars for a while. So at least until I figure out where I'm going to land. Jason Daniel Stones here. Let's see. My Knees Hurt says, are those acoustic amps decent? Is that Guitar Center's brand? They have a 410 for $400. Yeah, they are actually. They are actually pretty decent. I think, I've had the one that I've had for a number of years. They seem to have improved with the later generations. Mine's several years old now, but they do seem to have improved with later generations. So I was, that's probably worth the trip to Guitar Center to plug into them and see what you think. Ian's Guitar Shack said Ginsman's El Diablo amplifier weighs a ton. Yes, it does, but it does sound pretty good. That's another under the radar high gain amplifier. I like those. I haven't played one in a long time, but those are pretty cool when they do pop up. I'm not sure what they sell for anymore, but they used to be like $500-600. James Frank says, thanks for answering my questions, Robert. You're my go-to for guitar-related things. Gotta go. Thank you, sir. You have a great rest of your afternoon. Allen Aviation says, it seems to me that active pickups are better suited to bass rather than guitar. My 5-string bongo bass has lots of useful tones. Well, all Music Man basses are active. They're the ones that actually came up with, they're the ones that actually invented that technology. Or I guess it was more of an innovation, but Music Man are the active pickup people. There would be no EMG or Fishman Fluence or any of that stuff without Music Man, long before any of them. So, but yeah, I mean, with bass in particular, I 99% of the time tend to prefer active basses. So, I just, as a guitar player, passive basses, they're just not for me. I can't get them sound good. They're too muddy and flubby, and they just don't do what I need them to do. So, I need active. And keep in mind, I'm also not a bass player. I'm a guitar player that has to track a bass every now and then. So. Ragnar666 says, plasma pedal. Glorified fuzz. It's a glorified, I don't even know what fuzz circuit is, Big Muff or fuzz face. I mean, most of them are usually one of those two. I actually demoed, a buddy of mine, it was Park Kingery at Parks Custom Pedals, let me borrow his once upon a time that I demoed on my channel several years back. And it's just a glorified fuzz. Glorified fuzz with the little flex capacitor thing and running in the middle of it to make it look cool. But beyond that, it's sound wise, I did not hear anything. I did not hear anything special or anything that I couldn't hear out of a gazillion other fuzz pedals. So if you like fuzz, definitely go check it out because it's cool for fuzz fanatics. For people that don't like fuzz like me, I found it pretty fucking useless. To be honest with you. So, but again, just my personal experience with them, my personal taste. Block a Delighter in the super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It says, too bad, but very understandable. Anyway, here's a little bit to help out. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, you guys are going to start seeing a lot more content here soon because due to not having any other choice. I am going to be, I'm going to be doing YouTube I've been doing YouTube for a long time, like 8 years now. A little over 8 years. So this is, doing YouTube is not new, but doing YouTube full time will be new for me. So I don't know if it'll take off or not. My channel has not grown. Even just doing it on, doing part-time on the side, has not grown at the same rate that a lot of other guitar channels have. So, we could speculate all day long why that might be, but the fact remains, it just hasn't. So, we're going to see what happens when I go full time with it again, because like I said, I don't have any other choice. But maybe I'll be able to make it work, and maybe I'll find myself back out in the workforce again because I did make it work. So we'll see. FOC Outdoors says, you ever build a guitar? No, not my thing. I prefer to play them. I don't even like working on my own guitars. I do it because I have to, but as far as setups and restrings and stuff like that, and I've done so many of them, I can do them quick, but I don't enjoy it, and I damn sure don't have any interest in building a guitar. And there's building, the term building a guitar is I think very, very misconstrued, because building actual the actual form, cutting and forming of the neck and the body, and putting them all together, especially if it's a neck through or a set neck design or something like that, that takes a lot of very, very precise technical skill. Buying random Strat parts on eBay or or whatever website that you're buying guitar parts on, bolting them together, that's not building a guitar. That's buying a bunch of parts and bolting them together. But the fact remains, I don't have much interest in either one of them. So it's just not for me. People that do enjoy building their guitar, and there's lots of those people out there. By all means, keep doing it. I'm not knocking anybody for it, but it's not my thing. Don Evans says, Boss's best drive pedal I've ever played through is a dual overdrive. I still own one. Have you ever played one? Thoughts? I can't remember if that's the one. Which one's the dual overdrive? Because the SD2, is that the one that I have, or the one that I always get the dual overdrive and the turbo overdrive confused, and I think it's the turbo overdrive that I have. The dual overdrive is that one's a little bit harder to find. I've got just about all of those. I mean, I don't have an original SD1 or anything, but I do have. I've got a couple, production model SD1s. If you watch this channel for any length of time, you know that I love Boss pedals, and I've demoed an absolute shit ton of them. And I have a pretty decent sized collection of Boss pedals. I own probably 30 or 40 of them. So, and I have most of those, the dual overdrives and the distortions, the SD1, the SD2, DS1, DS2, all that stuff. Or, but the SD2 is the one I don't have, I think. It's the OD2 that I have. The OD3. Anyway, all that stuff. So, but the dual overdrive is the one that I'm missing, from that particular era. And I really, really would like one, but they don't pop up. I haven't seen one in quite a while. I don't think they sell for that much. I mean, I'm sure if I looked hard enough, I could find one. It looks like, if this is, if the Googles are correct, it looks like there's one on Reverb right now, an SD2 for $120, which isn't horrible, but one, I hate giving Reverb my money in any capacity if I can avoid it, and usually, on Reverb, sellers on Reverb tend to overprice their stuff. Like, everybody thinks their shit is gold because it's theirs. So I find eBay is a little bit more friendly to the to what the actual used market is. Let's see what eBay's selling those for. Oops, almost forgot. Let me bring you guys with me so you see what I'm talking about. There we go. eBay.com. Boss SD2. 132. Yeah, so there's one shipping free from Japan for $100. So let's go to where the hell complete listings. There they are. Those completed listings, $80, $92. Somebody got $140 for that one. Less than $100. $100, $100. So, you know, I mean, they're, you know, so this shit here with, you know, $120 plus 15, yeah, that's bullshit. You know, that's somebody that's trying to get more for it than what it's worth. And to be fair, they probably will, but that price is not reflective to what actual transactions are telling us that this thing is worth. So to revise my previous statement, there's some dumb shit trying to get $50 out of the fucking box. God, what an asshole. So to, you know, the short answer, you know, to revise my previous answer to that, they're out there. They do pop up used. You know, that certainly is, you know, they're certainly available. But finding them, I think, in a fair price range, at least on Reverb. You know, Reverb and Guitar Center's website too. They disappear immediately when they show up on GC's website. That's a little bit harder to find, and I refuse to overpay, you know, even $40 for $50 for a pedal like that. So. Let's see. R&R Steve says Fender trademarked their old tremolo circuit. Made Boss take their clone off the market in the 90s. Got one, sounds awesome. I wasn't familiar with that. What now I'm curious to know what that may have been. Because I'm familiar with the TR2. That pedal's been around forever, but plus there was another one that I'm not familiar with. Old TR2, etc., etc. Huh. Have to dig into that a little bit further, see what that's about. I was not aware of that. Let's see. Ian Guitar Shack says, I haven't seen nothing interesting yet at NAMM. Seen Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman's at NAMM. Okay. Well, at least they got that going for them. That record or whatever it was that he put out here a few years ago, I mean, it was beyond weird. But I've always liked Corey Feldman as an actor. You know, I mean, he's one of those guys that's like always been there at some capacity my entire life. I mean, he and I are about the same age. So Alex 2112 says, "Hey Robert, long time no see." Thank you. Yep, I'm back to doing the live stream thing here for a little bit. For as long as it makes sense to do it anyway. David Brockett says, Chiefs or Lions? Ravens. To be honest with you. Or Ravens. I think the Super Bowl is going to be the Ravens, the 49ers. You know, I don't think, and honestly, I think the 49ers are finally going to win. I don't think anybody's going to beat them. I do not think that I don't think the Chiefs or the Ravens can beat San Francisco this year, to be honest. You know, just ain't gonna happen. So, but, you know, if it does turn out to be the Chiefs or the Lions, I don't know, man. I mean, it would be cool to see the Lions finally win one, because, I mean, for decades, I mean, this is the first time I can recall, you know, even the Barry Sanders years, they finally got a legitimate, really good team from top to bottom, you know. Poor Matt Stafford, man. That Matthew Stafford played, you know, all those years, and he was loyal to that franchise for the first 12 years of his career. And he played on a lot of bad teams. Had he played anywhere else, he would likely have more than one Super Bowl by now, more than one Super Bowl ring, that is. you know, but playing in Detroit, he never even had a prayer of ever even getting there. So so it would be cool to see the Lions do it. That said, I also I like the Chiefs too. Well, I'm a diehard Colts fan. Colts are always going to get my loyalty, but I do like Patrick Mahomes. I think he's a really, really special player that as somebody that got to see all of Tom Brady's career and all of Dan Marino's career, and all of Peyton Manning's career. Mahomes is going to be one of those guys when it's all said and done. So. Alex2112 says, I found the Guitar Center is the best place to sell used gear. If you were in a pinch, they're definitely paying higher prices. Yeah, and they're paying higher prices because they're trying to get it because there's money to be made, and they can't make any money on it if they don't have the inventory. So in order to get the inventory, they got to pay a little bit more for it. Now the downside to them doing that sometimes is when they do that, then sometimes they overpay for it and they end up not leaving enough meat on the bone, and they got to overprice it. And I've seen a lot of stuff that like $2,000 and $3,000 amps. They buy in a used one and it's marked down like $200 or $300 below what a new one costs. I'm like, fuck that. That's wait for the next holiday coupon to come out and do better than that. Alex2112 says, playing through my Marshall Origin 20 combo amp with my SG in heaven. Great unsung amp. I love the Origin amps, man. I've wanted either the Origin 20 or the Origin 50 head for a long time, and I just keep putting it off, and thinking it was always going to be there for as long as I can imagine, and now I'm in a position where I'm not. I was hoping I would be able to pull that off this year, but now I'm in a position I'm not going to be working for a Marshall dealer anymore. So there goes that deal. But yeah, those are great amps, man. Marshall did a good job with those because they sound like like the old classic Marshall, like the old classic Marshall Plexi sound. You can get that sound. That's what they sound like, But they're also designed to be really, really good pedal platforms, which makes them really versatile. So yeah, I'm a fan of that series quite a bit. I love the Origins, and they're really affordable too. Which reminds me, by the way, somebody earlier asked about affordable high gain amps, and I can't believe I totally forgot the current Marshall DSL series. Marshall DSLs are badass. Ian's Guitar Shack says, here are a lot of people quitting the YouTube. Yeah, and I don't know where that trend has come from. Rick Beato put up a video about that last week or the week before or something. And he was referring he'd seen a lot of people saying that they were going to quit, but I think most he was referring to to other big channels and other genres, like well outside the guitar music genres, that which I don't know, but all of a sudden that sparked that sparked a trend. I haven't seen any of the guitar channels that are quitting, but I've seen like Kyle Bull put up a video, said he kind of got burned out and backed off on it for a little bit, but he but saying that he's kind of remotivated himself and now he's jumping back in. And Max put up a video just the other day, that said he's never going to quit. He's been doing it full time for a number of years, about 5 years now, I think he said, and and he loves it. So, and I'm honestly I'm the same way. It's been pretty rewarding for me as well. So I don't. There's really not any. I'm not going anywhere. So, now the only. What could happen, and it's only because it's what may have to happen for me. But I may find myself in a job that is coming up soon that's going to totally turn my entire schedule upside down, and I may be having trouble finding time to keep putting up videos the way that I have been. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm with Max. I mean, I love YouTube. I enjoy YouTube. The YouTube corporations themselves, they piss me off quite a bit. They do a lot of things. Every time if you don't have your own channel, if you ever log into YouTube Studio, which is the app or the website that we use to upload videos and all that stuff, sometimes they'll put surveys up there at the top. How are we doing? How do you feel as a creator that we're doing this, and this? And I usually give YouTube pretty low marks because I feel of the what I do feel, and I've always felt, the ecosystem of the ecosystem, the infrastructure, whatever you want to call it, of the YouTube themselves, the YouTube creator, and the YouTube viewer. Those three facets, and now you might even be able to throw in the vendor for sponsored videos. But those 3 or 4 different components of that ecosystem, it always seems to be the creators, that get the short end of the stick. With YouTube always being the ones that are taking as much as they possibly can. For example, I don't have any control over this, but I'm sure that some of you got ads popping up in the middle of this live stream, and those ads, I might see, pennies from it, maybe. In some cases, I may see fractions of pennies. YouTube sees, I mean, I don't know what, I don't know what the percentage, what the split is, but, when it comes to ad revenue, I think creators usually get about 0.0001% or something like that. I mean, it's barely any of it. And YouTube keeps all the rest. All these super chats, that you guys are kind enough to give. YouTube takes 30% of those. Those I don't complain about so much because 70% is better than zero, of course. But YouTube still takes a big chunk. So I've definitely got my complaints about YouTube, but the fact remains, I do still enjoy it, and and overall it has been pretty rewarding for me. So. But the anti-corporate guy in me does get pissed off at YouTube from time to time. Oh boy, let's see. My niece Hurt says my dad has built a few acoustics from trees. They sounded pretty good and look nice too. Like I said, that's a skill, especially building acoustics, man. That's a skill that I mean, it takes people years to develop a skill to be able to build a really nice guitar. All those nice Martins and Taylors and Gibsons and all that kind of stuff that that you get your hands on. Those. A lot of the people that build those guitars apprenticed for years before they were able to. They were able to do a lot of those. Even just their small little part of their small little section, their little task of build of that goes into that guitar without any kind of supervision. So it's a unique skill, but it takes years to learn. Actual lute, to become an actual luthier. Again, that's not talking about bolting parts together. My niece Hurt says, I don't even want to change my strings. Admittedly, I don't really either. But as a guitar player, it's a necessary evil. Archer says, still messing around with my boss. My Boss Fender pedals got the full set of 3 so far, no complaints. Well, you probably don't have any complaints because those things sound just about identical to, the actual amps that they're designed to emulate. I've seen people that, the 65 Deluxe reverb pedal, I've seen people buy the Boss version of that, and run it into their actual Fender Deluxe Reverb and suddenly, you know, and set it up with different settings, and then they've suddenly turned their Deluxe Reverb into a 2-channel amplifier because it sounds literally identical. So, yeah, I don't own any of those pedals. Now, when they were still being made, I didn't have much interest in them. Now I wish I bought them at the time, because now they're getting hard to find, and when they do show up, they're expensive. But again, that Boss is they did an excellent job designing those pedals, and I don't think they got credit for them like they should have at the time. Don Evans says, you were not wrong about reverb. Stupid prices. Most people on there won't move far off the asking price. Instead, it just remains unsold forever. Also true. But it's reverb is a real weird community. Like I said, people just, the sellers, think their shit is gold just because it's theirs. It's pretty weird, but but you're right. I've seen stuff sit on reverb for sale for a long time, and I've been guilty of leaving stuff up on reverb for sale for a long time. You guys might remember I demoed that Latitude semi-hollow body guitar a year and a half or so ago, whatever it was. That thing just finally sold last week. Finally, and I've had it listed on. I don't know. I guess it took. I dropped the price twice, which I don't normally have to do on anything, but that one I finally did. And got the entire time it was listed, had lots of people messaging me about it. Oh, does it have this, and that, $200 guitar, and they're wanting, wanting to know exact specs on it, for which blows my mind. But some of those specs just aren't available, and I couldn't answer it, and they wouldn't buy it for that reason. So finally, somebody realized that it is what it is, and they finally bought it. But yeah, it's weird. It is, reverb's a weird place. Mighty Turret says, I have to go do adult things now. Take care, folks. Have a great weekend. I'm not too far off from having to do adult things myself either, but I'm going to hang out here with you guys for a little bit longer. That's it. Have a great weekend, my friend. Ian's Guitar Shack says, what kind of music does your band play? We're gonna a new project, or a new band. We're gonna be playing hard rock metal, hard rock metal covers, really. Here in Indianapolis, that's really the popular thing. Original bands here in Indianapolis are real hard to get off the ground. Even original bands are forced to mix in covers around here if they want anybody to come out and see them. So. But in our case, most of us are in our late 30s and 40s and, early 50s. So, cover bands are kind of our thing anyway. So, and me personally, I've always enjoyed playing in cover bands. I think it's just a ton of fun. So, I've been away from playing out live for long enough. I want to go back and start doing it again. So that's what I'm trying to put together. But it's real hard to do that without a lead singer. R&R Steve says, Boss Tremolo Pan PN2. I did a quick Google search on that pedal that you were mentioning, and I did run across that one. It just popped up somewhere in the feed. I didn't dig too much further into it, but the PN2 is the one that you were talking about. That was the clone of the Fender Tremolo circuit. So. Ian's Guitar Shack says, I hope I can catch your band play when you get it all put together. I do too. That would be awesome. It'd be awesome for any of you to come out and check us out, especially if you're in the Indianapolis area, and if this thing actually does get off the ground. If it doesn't get off the ground, then I'm not going to have much to offer. But like I said, my life is very much in a transition period right now, and I have no idea what's going to be going on in my life, even as soon as a week from now. So. Martian Murray says, is the Boss DS1X that much better than a DS1? Better is kind of a relative term. It's I don't know if they're still making that pedal or not, to be honest. Let me see if that one's still in production. Anyway, to answer your question, it's a DS1, but it's the digital version. You know, it's a digital. That's a digital distortion as opposed to the analog distortion that the original DS1 circuit is. So, you know, that's, you know, when you're buying a DS1X, that's what you're buying. Boss DS1X, and it is still being made. God damn, that thing is $169 now. Wow. What's the DS1W? What's that one selling for? So they just came out with the Wazacraft version. DS1W, 100. That one's actually cheaper. Wow. The Wazacraft version of the DS1 they just came out with is DS1W selling for $149. The DS1X is $169 now. Wow. The DS1, the Wazacraft DS1, that's supposed to be really, really good, by the way. You know, but to answer your question, is the DS1X better than the DS1? You know, I said better, you know, it's kind of a relative term in that instance. You know, it's got more tonal flexibility, no question about that. You know, because it has both a high and a low instead of just you know, high and low controls as opposed to just a single tone knob. You know, my opinion, you know, you really, you know, if you want to hear them both like side by side, get the OD200, which is the big Hammer Jammer overdrive pedal the Boss makes that has both of those pedals in it. So, you know, you can hear the difference. DS1X, I think, is probably a little bit gainier, a little bit heavier sounding, maybe a little bit more conducive to modern stuff. They're both great pedals, though. I wouldn't complain about owning any of them. Archer says, peace out, interweb. You string changes to be done and guns to be cleaned, and not necessarily in that order. Have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Peace and prosperity, mofos. Rest of my day is going to consist of, well, I got a few honeydews to do. I got one of those may or may not involve finally taking down and putting the Christmas tree away for Mrs. Jackson, and then I've got a few other. I got to pay some bills and do a few other adulty like things, and then I'm probably going to spend the remainder of the afternoon playing Mortal Kombat 1 to be specific, because Mortal Kombat fucking rules. Let's see. Have you ever tried Quilter amps? What's your opinion on them in case you have? That's from Ooga Booga 94. Quilter amps are badass, dude. You know, as far as solid state amps, I mean, that's, you know, that those dudes are doing it right. And, you know, not only are they, you know, do they sound great, you know, they've even got a lot of like tube-like response to them, you know, a lot of them. You know, but some of them are like pedal size. You can mount them on a pedal board. You know, they're not even heads. They're not even head size. You can literally mount them on a pedal board, and they sound fucking awesome. I've eyeballed a number of those. You know, and you know, haven't bought any for numerous reasons. I mean, I'm not made of money. I can't buy every piece of gear that I want to demo on this channel. I wish I could, but unfortunately, you know, reality has to set in sometimes. I don't know how some of these dudes. I don't know how Kyle Bull does it. I have no idea how he's able to get his hands on so many high end amps and guitars and shit that he does. Yeah, but I don't have the resources to do that. So, Paul Fuchs is here. Says, hi, Robert. Post-pandemic guitar frenzy. What is your opinion on the state of the guitar industry and gear? Well, you know, I mean, as far as inventory goes, you know, now it's what I can tell you is I've just started. I've just been saying this here over the last month or two. Really over the last month, you know, inventory wise, it seems to be right, you know, finally back to where everything was pre-pandemic. You know, there's a few things out of stock, because there's always going to be a few things out of stock here and there. But generally speaking, you know, you can get a hold of just about it. You know, you know, there's plenty of gear to be had. There, you know, most, you know, the big retailers anyway seem to have most everything in stock. You know, and that's not just guitar stuff, guitars and amps, you know, that's a lot of it, but that's also encompassing drums and PAs and studio gear and, you know, shit like that. Most everything is pretty available again. As far as what you may not know, I got word, when I when I found out a couple weeks ago that I'm being laid off. When I got word, I reached out to a few other some friends in the community and in the industry to see if they knew of any openings anywhere, or could put a good word in for me. And one in particular, and no, I'm not going to say who it was, but they told me that they've heard of a number of companies that here over this past holiday season, just had brutal holiday seasons, which is very unusual for the MI business. A lot of companies were down 20, 30, even 40% in some cases. I mean, that's huge, for late November and December in particular. That's rough. So I got a feeling that we're going to see, not right now because everybody's out at NAMM doing their thing, but you're going to start hearing about some companies with implementing some more layoffs, unfortunately. So the guitar the guitar gear industry right now, the industry itself is going. This is a weird time in the MI business. We're going through We're going through a weird time right now, but it'll turn around. We'll pull out of it. In the meantime, I think there are a lot of there's a lot of holy shit. Scar my guitars here in the super chat. Thanks, bro. Long time no speak. Where was I? The industry. As far as the gear itself, I think there's a lot of companies. There's always going to be room to criticize everybody. Small companies, big companies. Everybody's got room for improvement. But I think in most cases, I think there's a lot. Like I said earlier, like with Ibanez, there's a lot of companies putting out some really, really good products right now for the money, across all price points, and Ibanez. Somebody left a comment on my video the other day that they're still about complaining that Gibson's quality is still dog shit and all this, that, and the other. And I gotta disagree. Because I think even Gibson under their new ownership, it took a few years to get there. The pandemic didn't help them any either. But I think they've improved a lot more than a lot of people are giving them credit for. I think there's a placebo effect going on there. I'm gonna do a video about that here the next week or two, so I'll elaborate more on that then. But overall, quality wise, as far as what products the companies are putting out, industry's in a pretty good shape. It's just sales are down right now. Best way to describe it. So that's my rant on the guitar industry for the moment. I've done a lot of rants today. R&R Steve says double ball ends can last for a couple years. I don't know if you're talking about double ball end strings, which would be like on a one of those weird Floyd Rose speed loader things. Finding strings for those is impossible. I'd love to have one of those guitars if I knew strings were available for them. David Brockett says try going original in Ohio. I'm in Indiana, dude. I'm not far from Ohio. Same as basically the same market. So yeah. Don Evans says, have you seen DeSilva's band The Tunes? Pretty good. I have not. Maybe I shouldn't be this way, being as I got a guitar channel and everything. But and I've talked about this before. I mean, as a rule, I'm typically really skeptical of new music. I'm really skeptical of a lot of music in general. Really, it takes quite a bit to win me over. I'm not always the most open-minded listener when it comes to something new. If it's something new, like Metallica, yeah, I'm absolutely going to be open-minded, and I'm probably going to enjoy it. I think that, the 72 Seasons, the album they put out last year, I think was fucking kick-ass. But, I'm also not I'm not going to deny that a lot of that is because Metallica is my all-time favorite band, and I love just about everything they do. Not everything, but a lot of it. Just about all of it. So, Five Finger Death Punch, another one of my favorite bands. But actually, that's actually a good example because I just started listening to them about 12 or 13, 14 years ago, 12 somewhere in there, and they'd been out for a while, and I'd never really, again, I was just skeptical of them, and then they were, if you look at the profile picture on my channel, you might notice is me. It was taken back when I was still at my Guitar Center, still at a manager at the Guitar Center I worked at. And that's me with Zoltan Bathory and Jeremy Spencer of Five Finger Death Punch when they came into the store for meet and greet one day. I knew that this was obviously a scheduled event, and they at that time were both with endorsing new companies. Zoltan had just recently started working with Dean, and Jeremy Spencer just recently moved to D-Drum. So that was part of what that promotion was about, and I decided that if I'm going to be hosting this event, I better familiarize myself with their music. So I bought their most recent CD, and their most recent couple of albums to listen to them. The first time I put them in, I was, this is what I'm alluding to. The first time I listened to them, I was like, okay, this is pretty kick-ass. I know a lot of people hate on that band, but I love them, and I've been a fan of theirs ever since. So. Let's see. Scar My Guitar is in the super chat, as I mentioned earlier, and thank you very much for that, sir. I haven't gotten that far down in the chat yet, but we talked about doing a collaboration a few years back, and then the pandemic hit and kind of put the kibosh on that whole deal. So, I don't know. That'd be cool. Maybe we ought to revisit that one of these days. That'd be a lot of fun. Let's see, where am I? Gear Junkie 35 is here. Ian's Guitar Shack says the name of your band, Robert Jackson, the Guitar Dungeon Band. No. I'm, with the exception of the email address that I created specifically for this channel, which is still robertsguitardungeon@gmail.com. Anything, related to, anything other than Robert Jackson, anything with that old Guitar Dungeon moniker is officially retired. So no. And I don't want to name my band after my own my own YouTube channel. So, these guys I'm playing with are all friends of mine. So, guys I've known for years. Let's see. Martian Murray says my tree smelled funny when I pulled it out this year, so I'm leaving it out for the year. Okay.